JS 201, without a doubt, is the most important course of the entire curriculum. Okay, so irrespective of whether you plan to be a front-end engineer, okay, you want to be a back-end engineer, you want to develop games, whatever, the advanced JavaScript concepts will be required for both clearing your interviews as well as from the day one of your job, right? So even companies that develops or maintains frameworks, for example, Meta or Facebook maintains React. But do you know what type of questions are asked when they interview for engineers? They are not about React. They are all about advanced JavaScript concepts. And I have so many students shared with me the questions that were asked. Most of the questions, whether they were appearing for front-end interview, whether they were appearing for back-end interview, whether they were appearing for the full-stack interview, most of the questions were asked related to what you will learn here in JS 201. Okay, so be very attentive. If you have been giving 100% till now, give 120%. And just make sure that you attend every pre-class and every class with full sincerity. Okay. So let me do a quick revision so that you are ready for the class 1. We just have 12 classes together, right? So I don't want to spend even 1 minute extra, right? So we have to utilize each one of them really nicely. So first thing, where does JavaScript code run? Again, you know most of these things. It's just a quick revision so that we are all on the same page. So every browser has a software called JavaScript engine, right? And that engine is responsible for executing the JavaScript code. So Google, for example, this Chrome browser, the name of the engine is V8. Firefox has its own JavaScript engine, and that is called SpiderMonkey, right? So this is about browser. So JavaScript code can be executed in browser. We all know this, right? For example, here I have a simple setup, a simple index HTML file, a simple JavaScript file. That JavaScript file is, included here. So we can see using the script tag, nothing extra. We are writing some JavaScript here, and the browser is able to execute this bit of code, and we can see this in the console, right? So JavaScript can be executed in browser. How? Because of the JavaScript engine that the browser is shipped with. Simple. Then Node. So how do we make desktop applications and servers and the backend application using JavaScript? Using Node, right? So Node.js is an environment which basically uses Chrome's V8 engine to execute JavaScript literally anywhere. Okay. So in other words, browsers and Node provides a runtime environment for our JavaScript code. It needs, we just can't write JavaScript and expect it to be executed. So whether in browser or at desktop, an engine is required to execute. So Node makes it possible to execute JavaScript for desktop applications and the servers. And for browsers, we have, similar JavaScript engines. One question that you should know as a JavaScript developer and is asked a lot in interviews is, what's the difference between JavaScript and ECMAScript? So basically, ECMAScript is a specification. It's a set of rules. It's a set of guidelines. ECMAScript is just a specification, and JavaScript is a programming language that conforms to the specifications. So ECMAScript makes the rules, and JavaScript conforms to the rules. It makes sure that it follows those rules. Okay? An organization called ECMA is responsible for defining standards, right? So that's why it's called ECMAScript. So JavaScript, again, you don't need to remember these dates, okay? So JavaScript basically started in 1997. In 2015, many new features were added. It's called ECMAScript 6 version, okay, ES6 version, or it was released in 2015 and many new features were added to it. Okay, so whenever you hear ES6, this means in 2015, JavaScript, the same JavaScript, which started from 1997, but with lots of new features. Okay. Then let's go to variables. So what are variables? So variables are used to store data temporarily in computer's memory. Okay. So we store data somewhere and give it a name. And with that name, we can read the stored data in the future. Now just think of a nice kitchen, a very well organized kitchen. So it has lots of containers. Inside of containers, we have different things, and they have nice label, right? What if there are lots of containers without a label? You will have to open each box and see, right? And no one wants to do that. So a well-organized kitchen, in a well-organized kitchen, there are lots of containers, and they have nice labels. Okay. So if we try to relate that to the concept of variables, the data, the value is what is put inside the box, and variable name is the label that we put on the box. Okay. So variable name is the label and data is what we put inside the box. Okay. So there are 3 ways to declare variables. Let's see them really quickly. Okay. So first is var first name equals to Vivek. Okay. Then so this is using the var keyword. This is the name of the label and this is the data itself. Okay. So somewhere in the memory slot, we will see how JavaScript uses stacks and queues to store data. That's later. But somewhere, there is this value called Vivek and it has a label called first name. And how did we declare it? Using the var keyword. Okay. Second way is let. So let middle name is equal to M. Again, there is this value M somewhere and it has a label called middle name. And how did we declare it? Using the let keyword. First was using the var keyword. Second is using the let keyword. And third, last name is equal to Agarwal. Okay. And we can verify that they are indeed stored somewhere by console logging them. We can see that we are able to log first name, middle name, and the last name. So even though it looks simple, right? Var, let, const, these are the 3 ways to declare variables, right? These are the 3 ways to declare variable, even though it looks really simple, but they are very different. Internally, they act in a very different way, which we will look into in the day 1 live class. And lots and lots of questions in interviews are asked using the difference between var, let, and const. But for now, for the pre-class, all you need to know is that there are 3 ways to declare variables. Okay, this is more than enough. There are a few rules, right? So for these labels, for the variable names, there are a few rules that you need to follow, like they cannot contain spaces, they must begin with a letter or an underscore or a $sign. Right? This is most important, either a letter, A to Z, or an underscore or a $sign. It cannot, a variable name cannot begin with anything other than these. Okay. And the entire variable name can only contain letters, numbers, underscores, or $signs. Variable names are case sensitive. So basically first name is not equal to first name all small. So this first name where n is capital, I'll just zoom in a little bit. So this first name is not equal to this first name. Okay. So this is case sensitive. The variable names are case sensitive. And of course keywords, right? Certain keywords like var, let, const, class, they can't be used as variable names. So the keywords that are reserved for JavaScript, so they will immediately, show us an error. For example, if I try to name var class equals to Akash, so actually it will immediately show, class is not allowed as a variable. So we don't need to remember these things, but it's good to know that we are not allowed to use any keyword, special keywords reserved for JavaScript for variable names. Then what values can be assigned to the variable? So, okay, we created this variable, right? Let me create a variable like var1, okay? Any variable, my variable. So this is a variable. We have created a label, right? But what values can be assigned to the variable? What can be here in the right side? So here we declared a variable, we created a label. So what can be put inside the container of this label? So this is the question. So they can be either primitives or they can be non-primitives. Primitives are string, number, boolean, undefined, null, big int, and symbols. And non-primitives are object, arrays, and functions. So in the right hand side, any of these things can come, either primitives or non-primitives. The magical part is that they are handled in very different way. The way JavaScript handles primitives, which we'll see in the live class. And again, lots of questions are asked from this particular section that we will be studying tomorrow. So the way JavaScript internally stores primitives is very different from the way non-primitives are stored. Okay, so you don't need to worry about the differences. We will learn that tomorrow. But for now, what I need you to be clear with is there are some primitives, primitive value types, and there are some non-primitive value types. Okay, and in JavaScript we don't, it's dynamic typing, right? We don't tell here that it's a string, right? So suppose it's a string, right? A simple string, but we are not telling anywhere that it's a string, right? We are not, so it's just var for string. Suppose I use boolean var, let me name it my string, okay? Var my string, then var my boolean is true. Okay. Again, we are not telling anywhere that it's boolean, right? It can be any name, right? But how does JavaScript know that it's a boolean, right? If you hover over it, it knows that it's a boolean. See here, it's a boolean. If you hover over it, you see it's a string. So it's dynamic typing based on what's in the right hand side. Dynamically, JavaScript comes to know what this value is. Okay. And how do we know that? For that, we have the type of operator. So if we check type of my string, we get back string. If we check the type of my boolean, we get back boolean here, right? So we can check what value dynamically JavaScript has inferred, okay, depending on what we have provided here. Again, it has a lot of edge cases which we will all learn. For now, I need you to know that, so JavaScript has this thing called dynamic typing, and based on the value that we have provided to a variable, the type is inferred. Okay, and we can check some of the types using type of Okay, I just need you to know this much. So yeah, here's a very simple note. I don't want to keep this video long because I want each one of you to see it from start to end. And yeah, let's dive into some really exciting topics tomorrow.